What if I told you that this is the best batch juicer on the market? What if I told you that it's disrupting the juicing industry? And what if I told you that it also doubles as a hands-free breast pump? What? Well, these are some of the claims floating around online, and after testing almost every juicer on the market, I had my doubts, especially about the breast pump part. So that's why in this Kuvings AUTO10 review, I'm going to show you if it really is the best juicer on the market, exactly how much juice it yields compared to other machines, and some shocking things that might make you think twice before buying. Let's take apart the Kuvings AUTO10 in 3, 2, 1. So pretty standard juicing set. Now, these aren't all the parts that come with the AUTO10. You also get a sorbet strainer, a smoothie strainer, a cleaning tool, and some brushes. They do have add-on purchases like the citrus attachment, but it costs an extra 42 bucks. But this next part shocked the heck out of me. This attachment comes with a Prop 65 warning, and so does the AUTO10 itself. Prop 65 says that this product contains harmful chemicals which can cause cancer, birth defects, and reproductive harm. But after looking into this, I found out that those chemicals are only used in the electrical cords, which means those chemicals don't actually touch your juice. Now, the citrus attachment doesn't have a juicing cord, so I have no idea what's going on there. Maybe you know. If you do, drop a comment below and let us know what's going on. Moving on to the hopper. It's got a 100-ounce capacity, which is about double the size of most of the other juicers on the market. On the lid, there's this small tab that you can pop open with your thumb, but the lid sort of feels flimsy and cheap, which we'll get into later. There's a circular cutout on the top where you can feed extra produce into the machine while it's running. And the hopper has a set of blades in the bottom. One blade is for chopping, while the other blade is for sweeping the ingredients into the hole. Now, the AUTO10 comes with a regular auger and juicing screen. The juicing chamber has a drawbridge with a pull tab attached to it so you can easily rinse out the stuck pulp, and the juicing cap can twist and pull off. But besides the hopper, I'm not really seeing any crazy differences between the Rebo 830, which was the previous model. And they give you this juicing book, which yeah, looks nice, but if you want something even better, I'll drop a link to Juicing for Beginners, which is my ebook, in the description below. Now, that's a lot of parts, and you might be thinking, this thing looks harder to put together than the Da Vinci Code. Well, what if that's the case? After all, you don't want a juicer that feels like a jigsaw puzzle to put together, right? Well, let's put some time on the clock and see how fast we can assemble this thing. So there you go, it takes 30 seconds to put together. The AUTO10 has a set of red dots which will help you get it together faster, but even with those dots, you still have to twist and turn the parts until they lock, so it doesn't feel as easy as I thought it would. The hopper and the chamber also have a set of arrows which you have to line up and then you can twist on. And if you want to unlock the machine, the hopper, you just push down on this button and then you can twist it. Now, I've rigorously tested all of the juicers on the market so we can compare it to this one. If we take a look at the scorecard, you're gonna see the Kuvings AUTO10 wasn't the fastest to put together, but it wasn't the slowest either. Now, this next thing you really wanna pay attention to is how much juice it makes, AKA the yield. Because if the yield is awful, you're gonna wind up wasting hundreds, if not thousands, on half-juiced fruits and vegetables. And you wouldn't want that, would you? But before we get to the yield benchmarks, we're gonna make one of my favorite juicing recipes from my ebook. The ingredients are honeydew, lemon, and apple, and I swear it's the simplest yet tastiest recipe that you'll ever try. The flavors were perfect, honestly, a 10 out of 10, chef's kiss, mwah. After doing a squeeze test on the pulp, everything looked dry. The AUTO10 was also on the louder end of all the juicers I've tested. It hits about 76 decibels, which according to this app is like a quiet vacuum cleaner. And when the machine is almost done juicing, it can sometimes screech. Yep, you heard that right, screech. It's no jet engine, but it was noticeably louder than the other machines I've tested. The other machines were getting around 60 decibels. So if you've got kids, a baby, or a partner who likes to take naps, this could potentially wake them up and make them cranky. But now for the moment of truth, I'm gonna show you the exact juice yield for this machine and how it stacks up against the others. If you've seen any of my videos in the past, you know that I like to test celery, ginger, oranges, and leafy greens. And the reason why I do this is because they're good benchmarks for fibrous, hard, medium, and soft produce. I weighed out 6 ounces of celery, 1.3 ounces of ginger, 8.5 ounces of oranges, and 2 ounces of leafy greens. Let's load up the celery and flick the switch. It was making light work of that celery, but after letting it run, the hopper was struggling to sweep the last piece, so I had to lend it a hand. That came out to 118 milliliters of juice. Next up is ginger. For ginger, the machine swept the ingredients pretty fast. Now, Kuvings juicers have been known for giving you the best yield for ginger, but what surprised me was that some of the juice was leaking from the side of the pulp ejector. That came out to 36 milliliters. Next up is the oranges. The hopper blades made light work of them, but the oranges took longer to get swept in than the other produce. That came out to 158 milliliters. Finally, we'll chuck in some leafy greens. After letting it run, there were some odd squeaky noises coming from it. When I tipped the machine, juice leaked out of the pulp ejector again, but that came out to 26 milliliters of juice. Now, check out how dry the pulp is for these. The celery was bone dry, and after squeezing it, I was only able to get a couple drops out. The squeeze test on the oranges was perfect. The ginger came out wet. The leafy greens didn't even come out of the pulp ejector, so I had to pull out the auger and inspect it. Most of the leaves were like wrapped around the auger and it looked pretty wet. When it comes to leafy greens, it looks like that this machine isn't going to be the most efficient one. So here's how the Kuvings AUTO10 compares versus other juicers. Now, cleaning your juicer is one of the most important parts. I've owned over 12 machines, and the one thing that stopped me from using them was just how painful they were to clean. So if you don't pay attention to this next part, you might wind up spending $700 on a juicer that just kind of sits on your shelf. Now, the Kuvings AUTO10 claims to be easy to clean, but that's not what customers are saying. I do wish the hopper was bigger for batch juicing and it wasn't so daunting to clean. Cons: large, heavy, and takes longer to clean. Even the comments section on their cleaning tutorial was getting roasted. One guy said that doesn't look fast at all, and another girl who owns the machine replied that she's annoyed by it. But are these people right, or are they just being internet trolls? Well, let's put some time on the clock and find out. So there it is, 2 minutes and 10 seconds. It's not bad, but I wouldn't say there's anything fast or easy about it. By far, the hardest, most annoying parts to clean are the auger and the juicing screen. The auger has this gap underneath where you have to scoop out the pulp in a circular motion, and the juicing strainer has a small hole which you'll have to poke at. And then you'll need to scrub the juicing screen with a brush. Now, the AUTO10 comes with this green cleaning tool. To me, it just kind of felt like a piece of cheap plastic. But after using it a few times, it beats scrubbing the juicer with a regular brush. Cleanup with the AUTO10 was much slower than the others, especially the Huram H400 and the H70, which come with easy clean technology. But despite the challenges with cleaning, there's a couple things that make the AUTO10 really attractive to people. So the first one is the hopper, right? So the hopper is going to be double the size of most hoppers on the market. The next thing that makes the AUTO10 pretty impressive is the yield. I was kind of shocked how dry the celery came out of the machine. Sure, it did choke on the leafy greens, but in other categories, it did pretty decent. But putting the yield to the side, there are 4 things every person needs to know before considering the AUTO10. And if you ignore these, you might wind up making a $700 mistake. Okay, so like I mentioned before, it wasn't the fastest juicer to clean on the scorecard, and the fact that this thing is so big that it makes it even more of a pain to clean. Cleanup time is super important to me, so this is kind of a massive con, and it doesn't stop there. The lid, oh man, the lid. The lid drove me absolutely mad. It's cheap, it's flimsy, and it falls off easily. And when you really max it out, you might need to hold it down with your hand. Otherwise, it can pop up, causing the safety mechanism to kick in and shut down the machine. And look, I wasn't the only person who experienced this either. I found multiple reviews saying they like the product, but the lid doesn't stay closed. But that's not all. This thing is a heavyweight coming in at 16.5 pounds. It's the least portable juicer out of all the ones that I've tested, and it's going to take up more countertop space, which is bad news if you've got a small kitchen. It can almost feel like a gym weight when you're lugging it across your countertop. It's much louder than the other machines, and the screeching noises might just make your blood boil. With other juicers on the market, I didn't experience the same thing. The AUTO10 just feels like a Me Too juicer. Besides one-upping Nama with the larger hopper, it doesn't feel that unique. Instead, it almost feels like they took the Revo 830 and just slapped a hopper on top of it. The AUTO10 was released after the Nama J2 and the H400, which means they had more time and still didn't work out some of these smaller kinks. Don't get me wrong, it's great, but for 700 bucks, I thought I'd be getting more for my money. And look, I'm not saying that you shouldn't buy it, but if you don't watch this video first, you might regret it.